Right. Formal and informal. Affective statements. And when you're talking about affective statements, you normally use what? Right. I statements. Right. Okay. What are some questions that we could ask persons instead of what make you do that?
How are you feeling at the moment? What were you thinking before the circumstance occurred?
Right. Right. So we don't want to say why, to shame or to blame, but we want to understand so we can treat with the underline because it's awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Boy.
What's your 3 man? What's your 2 man?
Nice. All right. Remember, you can out, all right? You can throw it to persons closer to you. All right. All right. All right, you're out.
No, miss, the answer for ball, miss. But they're gonna hurt. When you lick somebody, they're gonna hurt. Yeah, man.
All right. All right, you're out. You're out. Good.
No, man, this ball is good.
What is expected, and at the end of it, everyone has their own
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to begin today's function. So the persons at the back who are standing, could you please take your seats? All right. May I invite us all to stand for the singing of the national anthem? Thank you. Okay, after 3, we'll begin. 1, 2, 3. Countless arms to our leaders, true wisdom from above, justice, truth, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all, stern response to duty for, strengthen us the weak to cherish, give us vision lest we perish, knowledge send us, heavenly Father, and true wisdom from above, justice, truth, ours forever, Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Please remain standing as I invite Dr. Kassan Troop, Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education, to say prayers for us, please.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Most gracious and kind and loving Father, we give you thanks for today. It is a day that we have never ever seen before, and we are grateful that you have found us worthy to be on this side. Mighty God, as we are about to start this celebratory function, we thank you for the visionaries, our ministers, mighty God, that you have blessed with vision. As your word said, without vision, the people will perish. We pray, oh God, for the foot soldiers, our workers in the vineyard. We thank you, oh God, for our leaders at our institutions, our helping professionals, our parents, mighty God. We thank you for the students who are here. Mighty God, we can do nothing without you, and we thank you that you have granted journeying mercies. We invite you in our midst this morning. We pray that you tabernacle. We pray, oh God, that you lead and direct the program. And I pray, oh God, that it will be to your liking and that you will be glorified through our efforts. Mighty God, take full control as we continue to glorify you and to lift you up and to say thank you. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for what you're doing now. And thank you for what you're about to do. These said and unsaid mercies we continue to ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. True. Please be seated. I am Grace Ann Stewart McFarlane, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice. I want to use this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who have found it possible to be here today. Starting with our ministers, Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Ortiz Winter, Mr. Ortiz Winter, Vice Principal here at Jamaica College, representing the Principal, Mr. Wayne Robinson. Also at the head table is Mr. Troop. I'm not sure if he's related to Dr. Troop. And in the audience, of course, we have Miss Andreen Lindsay. She's a coordinator for the Restorative Justice Program. Both herself and Mr. Troop, I can probably say, are the conceptualizers, architects of this event that we are celebrating today. And of course, to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, participants, and the hard-working staff of the Restorative Justice Program from right across the island, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all for traveling from right across the island to be here today. And I must say that this is just a representational number of the persons who would have participated in the program, the training program that would have been put on through the collaboration of the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Education and Youth. Of course, your programs, you would see that we will have some testimonials later on in the program. We will be hearing from our ministers and, of course, other persons who would have been key to this program. But to tell you more about what took place, and in the interest of time, I know the heat is going to be upon us. We're going to try to keep the program as tight as possible. So I'm going to invite Ms. Andreen Lindsay. She's the National Coordinator for the Restorative Justice Program, to come and give us an overview at this time. Please make her welcome. Auditioning. I overlooked, and let me say, we are using the facilities here today at the Jamaica College, and thank you so much to Jamaica College principal and board and staff for allowing us the facilities. But to make us feel even more welcome here, before we hear from Ms. Andreen Lindsay, Mr. Ortiz Winter, Vice Principal of Jamaica College, will do his further and more detailed welcome to us here today. Mr. Winter, could you please come? Please welcome Mr. Winter.
Honorable Minister Favour Williams, Minister of Education, and I must say the Minister of Education first, since I'm an educator. I notice on my program there is Mr. Chuck first, but I'll acknowledge Mr. Chuck now. Honorable Minister, Minister of Justice, Mr. Delroy Chuck, Mrs. Grace Ann Stewart, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice, Mr. Richard Troop, Director of Safety and Security in Schools, Ms. Cassan Troop, Chief Education Officer, other officials from the ministry, both from the Ministry of Education and those from the Ministry of Justice, ladies and gentlemen, and I see some boys and girls, good morning. My name is Ortiz Winter, as was said earlier, and I am the Vice Principal at Jamaica College. It is indeed my pleasure this morning to welcome you to this function, this ceremony. And we at Jamaica College, we're always hosting big events, but I must say this is one of the biggest we have had since a long time. Thank you, ministers, and this is a very good program. I think it will go a far way in helping to restore some things in Jamaica that we think are going wrong now. When you have a combination of the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Justice, only good things can come from that. I'd like to thank the group that organized the thing. I was working with them all week, and I can tell you there are some really mean, tight people. They want everything done a particular way, and this beautiful auditorium you're seeing today was done just because of them, and I headache to work with them, but they did a wonderful job. The place is beautiful today, isn't it? I know that many of you traveled from far and came here today, and I would like to say thank you for putting the time in. This is a very valuable program, and I really appreciate that most of you saw it prudent to turn up today. And so you should also give yourself a round of applause for being a part of this program. So let me say now and take my seat. Welcome to this ceremony and welcome to Jamaica College. Thank you.
Since the chair has already introduced me, I'll just take my place here. Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice. Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth. Mrs. Grace Ann Stewart McFarlane, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Justice. Mr. Ortiz Winter, Vice Principal, Jamaica College. Dr. Cassan Troop, Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Education. Mr. Richard Troop, Director of Safety and Security in Schools, Ministry of Education and Youth. And I've not missed no one. RJ unit staff and colleagues in the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education staff and colleagues, members of the press, teachers, parents, student participants of the Restorative Practices 2-day workshops, distinguished ladies and gentlemen here at Jamaica College, and to those viewing virtually, good morning to you all. My name is Andreen Lindsay. I'm the coordinator for the Restorative Justice Program in Jamaica. And I must say, as I look around the room and see you all here in your splendor, I feel it's heartwarming to see so many people coming from so many different places across Jamaica to celebrate this day. And this day is for you. It's your achievement because you have gone through those 2 days of training, and here you are today to receive your certificates and to represent your schools. So just to give a bit of background, for those of you who are not familiar, the Ministry of Justice partnered with the Ministry of Education and Youth to expand the scope and reach of the Restorative Practices Training Program in educational institutions across the island. This was really in response to the violence in schools and as part of the broader mandate for behavior change management. On the 3rd of May, the two ministries signed a memorandum of understanding, and that was through the Ministry of Education's Safety and Security in Schools branch and the Restorative Justice Unit at the Ministry of Justice. Our mandate was to actually deliver the 2-day workshops to 3,120 participants across Jamaica that would have been across 104 schools, including 78 high schools and 24 primary schools. And that's just phase 1. We commenced on the 9th of May and we concluded on the 1st of July. So you can imagine we were training all the time to get all those trainings completed in a very short period of time. I'm pleased to report that we were able to engage 2,398 participants across 81 schools. Give yourself a hand. That would have been a great achievement, and you should all be proud. We're all proud because, the last 2 months, everyone has been preparing for examinations. We've only been back from virtual schools for a couple of months. So it's been a hectic time. So, I really want to recognize the schools and say thank you for really accommodating us to come in and work with you, the parents, and also the students as well. I would go on to say it's not always easy to engage in these workshops, especially at a time where we were coming out of a pandemic. But when going around the schools and watching as well the testimonials, some of which you would have seen playing this morning, it was so refreshing to hear the parents, the students, and the teachers, and the school administrators, deans of disciplines, guidance counselors, principals, really talking about how much knowledge, firstly, the trainers had. But number 2, how they were impacted by the 2 days of training. And, we're going to hear from some of them today as well. But as I said it at the beginning, it was really heartwarming to really be able to listen to people who had been on a training for 2 days talk about how they're going to implement some of the things they had learned. I spoke to a parent and she was saying to me, and it was good to hear the honesty, because what she was saying is that, usually with her, she had 3 children, and she was saying usually with her 3 children, she's quite an aggressive parent, she's short-tempered, and she would snap very quickly. And she was saying, after the 2 days training, she had got new tools to learn how to deal with behavior and to manage the relationships that she had with her children. That was one. And I also spoke with principals as well, who expressed the same thing, that they wanted to implement restorative practices in their schools so that instead of students being suspended, all the time, and that high level of suspensions we see in schools, we try to manage the behavior, change the behavior, work with the children and the parents to really implement the things that had been taught over the last 2 days that they had experienced. So that was really refreshing for me. And, just to conclude, to say this workshop really has laid out the foundation principles for building healthy relationships. And if you follow the principles that have really you've learned during the 2 days of your training, I'm sure that when conflicts do arise, you will have the tools to manage them better. Before closing, I really want to, as I started, recognize the region coordinators at the Ministry of Education and Mr. Richard Troop, who I've worked with for a number of years. But the relationships, even for us organizing the program, has been really, really pleasant. We've all worked really hard. I want to thank the Restorative Justice team, my very hard-working team. Each and every one of them have gone out and delivered training after training after training, as well as, completed the other work across the centers. And I, the ministry, actually really thank you all for that. And to all the participants to say, I know that just like me, you're fed up of seeing the conflicts in your schools, in your communities. I'm sure you would have had friends or classmates who may have died due to conflicts in your school because they've escalated and ended up in someone losing their lives. So I hope you can see really the benefit of this program and that you will put the things that you learned into action to build those relationships. So remember, I want to leave you with a quote. I love quotes. It was Edmund Burke who said, all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And I'm sure, having participated in the program and before that, we're all good men and women, boys and girls. And really, if we want to see the changes in Jamaica, we need to be the beginning of the changes we want to see. You might not see the change tomorrow, but we're setting the foundations for generations to come. So your children or your children's children can live in a peaceful Jamaica that's more cohesive and just and just nice to live in. So thank you all. Congratulations again and enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay, for that overview of the two-day training program that you would have participated in. And of course, you would have heard that over 2,300 participants benefited from the two-day training that took place. And it involved teachers, students, and parents. So we would have taught, or at least made persons sensitize these persons to how to solve conflicts and restore their relationships. And if we can do another 2,300, another 2,000 before long, we are hoping that conflict resolution will be resonated right across the nation. And very soon, we are hoping that conflict resolution will cause persons not to get so angry about minor things, and we all within the home, within the school, and all spaces will learn how to interact with each other and reduce the reaction with violence. Okay? But just to bear out the training and to hear how some of these persons would have benefited, we are going to just hear quickly from some of our participants. Our student will now be sharing with us a testimonial. Miss Ebanks, this is a student. Miss Lindsay, this student for the testimonial, please. Until the student comes, I'm sorry. All right, just a change in the program. Bear with us, please. At this time, Jamaica College will entertain us with an item. Please make them welcome. Thank you very much, students of Jamaica College, for that. You saw the showdown just now with the two guys with the drums. Those are the kind of showdown we want, not with anything else, stones and sticks, but really battling out with talents. So another round of applause for them, please. Okay, at this time, I'm going to invite Miss Yannick Dobson of Brownstone High, a teacher at Brownstone High School who would have participated in one of our two-day training program, and she will give us a testimonial of her experience. Miss Dobson?
Pleasant morning, everyone. Yannick Dobson, Brownstone High School. I was privileged to be a part of the restorative justice training that took place at my institution. The bits of knowledge and the principles passed on during this two-day training has had and will continue to have a positive impact on our school as it relates to how matters of discipline are taken care of. The sessions were practical. We were all involved as teachers, parents, students. Real-life situations and scenarios were used for us to put the various practices into play so that the connection would have been made, and we as a school have benefited, and we will continue to put these practices into play as we continue with our school life. We are grateful for the program. We hope this is not a one-off. We really hope that there will be continuity as it relates to the program and aspects of the program, and also improvement on practices. And we really hope that Brownstone High will be better based on the practices we have been taught and how we will be putting them into play. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dobson, for that testimonial. Next, we'll hear from a parent, Ms. Pearl Gordon of the Edward, a parent of a student of the Edward Siaga Primary School. Ms. Gordon, can you come forward, please? She will give us her experience as a parent.
Hello, good morning. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And, the program helped me a lot, and helped my child and helped the school. We talk about the violence in the community, and the violence for the children is not good. So we always ask the children to be calm, obey, and understanding. No matter what's going on around you, just be obedient and understanding from each other. No matter how old are you or anything, no matter how short you is or anything, you can understand from each other. That is we are for, to listen, obey, and understanding. The violence in Denham Town is not very good, but I'm a little bit shy, as you can see. I'm nervous. So I try to be brave and understanding, if you understand what I was saying. So my daughter is Beyonce Michelle Luke, and she attends to Edward George Primary School at 105 North Street on Spanish Town Road. And everything is okay so far, and I love the program, and the program teach me a lot in the schoolyard about violence. Violence is not good for the kids them. Them need to put down like the gun and listen to others. we are human. So mothers and fathers must supposed to listen to them children. When they are speaking to them, do not run them. Ask them what they are speaking about, put them down and sit them down and listen to your kids. Do not run your child. It can be something what she want to tell you, what she want to say to her father. But probably she do not want to say anything to the mother, more or she will respond to the dad. So it's more important you are listening to your kids. Do not run them. I'm asking, do not run them. Listen to the kids them and listen what they are saying to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon. Clearly, the program would have impacted and resonated with Ms. Gordon. She shared what she understood, and that is what we were trying to communicate. Very well, thank you. Okay, now we would not have gotten this far had we not gotten the support of our ministers. When the idea, of course, working at the Ministry of Justice, Minister Chuck, he really believes and champions the Restorative Justice Program. And so it's as if that's his baby in the ministry, because he believes that the society can be a gentler society if we just knew how to communicate and, you know, relate to each other, because there are always going to be conflicts. But how we respond to conflicts is what he really believes in. And of course, he shared his idea with Minister Williams at Education, and immediately she bought into the idea. And of course, Mr. Troop, Miss Lindsay, Minister Chuck, Minister Williams, all got on board, and we are here today. And this is just, as I said, a sampling of the persons who would have participated in the program. And the teacher before said she hopes that the program will continue, and there are plans for the program to be expanded further on. So at this time, I'm going to invite the Honorable Favour Williams, MP, Minister of Education and Youth, to bring her remarks. Minister, please make her welcome.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary. Good morning, everyone. Did everybody hear what Ms. Bogle said? Did you hear when she said, do not run your child, listen to your child? Give her a round of applause. If you heard nothing else today, I hope you take that back to your homes. Let me begin by acknowledging Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice and conceptualizer of this program idea. Thank you so much, Minister Chuck, for engaging the Ministry of Education and Youth. Let me acknowledge as well Dr. Kassan Troop, our Chief Education Officer acting at the Ministry of Education and Youth. And she has another name and another function, and it is that of Prayer Warrior. Did you hear her this morning? You didn't hear her? You heard her? Give her a round of applause for that powerful prayer. Let me acknowledge Mr. Winter, the Vice Principal here at Jamaica College. Thank you, sir, for opening the doors of Jamaica College for us this morning. It's a beautiful location. Let me acknowledge as well Ms. Andreen Lindsay, Restorative Justice Coordinator, Ms. Julian Brooks from the Institute of Criminal Justice and Security at UWI, Of course, our very own Mr. Richard Troop, Director, Acting Safety and Security in the Schools Unit at the Ministry of Education and Youth. All our students who are here, our teachers, our parents, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. I'm very pleased to be with you today as we acknowledge and celebrate the successful completion of this special training program in restorative justice practices that was attended by some 3,100 participants from across the island. As you know, this program began in early May, subsequent to the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU, between the Ministry of Justice through its Restorative Justice Unit and the Ministry of Education and Youth through our Safety and Security in Schools unit. The two-day workshops were conducted in 104 schools, of which 78 were high schools and 24 primary schools. In phase 1, between May 9, 2022 and July 1, 2022, with the aim of providing and promoting best practices in conflict resolution and enhancing community cohesion. Needless to say, we see this as a very important intervention as we seek to enhance our citizens' capacity to resolve conflicts without resorting to violence, to talk it out, and to develop better community relations. I'm sure many times you would have heard on the news situations in which persons end up dead. And when you hear the circumstances around it, you have to shake your head to say, that was what caused somebody to be dead? Just recently in Papine, that way, Papine Square, 2 taxi men were arguing over a passenger. And at the end of that argument, one taxi man stabbed the other one dead over a passenger. We're gone to a place, I'm hoping we can return from that place. And I know that the restorative justice in our schools is going to help our children to understand just that, so that when they grow up to become adults, they will have that within them, and that will help them through life. We can't continue to use violence as the first resort. Anything, we run for the knife, the stone, the gun. We have not learned how to just sit down and talk it out, even if we disagree at the end of it, to walk away. We can agree to come back to it again another time. We don't know how to breeze off, to not respond, to just walk off a little bit and let some time pass before we react to things. And I am very grateful that we have this program in our schools, because as we look to another school year starting in September of 2022, I am hoping that we do not see a display of what we saw in the school year just ended, with many of our students in brawls, fighting each other, tearing off clothes, cursing, carrying on. And we saw just how ugly that was, and that led us to begin to teach restorative justice practices in our schools, to give our teachers, our students, our parents tools with which to handle conflict situations in which they find themselves. And yes, during our everyday life, during our everyday interaction with persons, there are going to be conflicts. There are going to be arguments. It is life. How you manage it, how you get out of it, how you retain your dignity in that process, that is what we want to teach our children, our teachers, and our parents to do. So let me say, from the perspective of the public education system, we know that traditionally school systems use prescriptive and punitive methods to manage, respond, and deal with the bad behavior that some students display. These zero-tolerance policies involve actions of exclusion, suspensions or expulsions that lead to the removal and isolation of students that commit undesirable behavior from both the school context and the community, and that are put in place to enforce order within the school themselves. However, in more recent times, schools in different parts of the world have launched initiatives and projects aimed at promoting the restorative approach and restorative practices in terms of cultural and disciplinary policy of the entire school, supporting students, teachers, non-teaching staff with specific training. It's also an approach capable of promoting and developing social and emotional skills, example, empathy, self-esteem, nonviolent communication, peaceful conflict management, and as practices specifically activated with the involvement of external facilitators to manage and respond to episodes of bullying, conflicts, inappropriate and/or offensive and/or violent behavior. Studies have been conducted that restorative practices can improve the school climate, discipline, positive conflict management through actions that aim at preventing suspensions or exclusions, and so on. Restorative justice practices promote positive relationships between peers and between students and teachers, as well as it promotes pro-social behavior through the development of social and emotional skills. And it is within this context that our ministry has been very keen to collaborate with the Ministry of Justice on this program. And so this morning, again, I want to commend all the students, parents, and the teachers who participated. We want you to spread the word. We want you to practice what you've learned. And as Ms. Bogle said this morning to all parents, when your child comes to speak with you, do not run your child. Listen to your child. They could be telling you something very important for you to act on. And so I want to say thank you again to our team at the Ministry of Education and Youth, led by Mr. Troop, and to the team at the Ministry of Justice for this significant collaboration. And Minister Chuck, we have to find the resources to continue this program for as long as possible so that we touch on all our schools across Jamaica. And we have 1,000 schools, Minister Chuck, primary and high school. So you can see that we do have much work ahead of us. But we are committed because this is an important message, an important gospel for our children, our parents, and our teachers, and for all of Jamaicans to learn. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to handing out some of these certificates to the students, parents, and teachers who participated. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those remarks, Minister Williams. And of course, you would have heard Minister reinforcing some of the principles that you would have learned for your during your restorative justice 2-day training. Next, we will hear from the Honorable Delroy Chuck. But before he comes, just to make you aware that Minister is currently, you see how RJR do these cross-country trips? Minister is doing his cross-country public awareness campaign with the social justice programs of the Ministry of Justice. So while restorative justice is, can I say his? It's really ours because we own it. Restorative justice program, we also have the child diversion program, victim services, and of course he's also promoting mediation. All the ways, the social ways to help our society deal with issues when they come up. As Minister Williams said, sometimes we just need a little cooling out period, count to 10, whatever it takes, before you respond. Because sometimes just by responding, you could lose your life. And apart from losing your life, you could also lose your freedom, if not losing your life, by spending time in the prison over some very simple matters that could have been dealt with differently if you had just taken the time to just step back and look at what you're really responding to. So at this time, Minister Chuck, without further ado, I'm going to invite Minister Chuck, Minister of Justice, to make his remarks at this time. Please make him welcome.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary Grayson McFarlane, my colleague Minister Williams, who is about to do an outside broadcast, from the Ministry of Education, Dr. Kasten Troop and Mr. Richard Troop, Vice Principal, Jamaica College. Thank you for having us here, sir. Ms. Andrine Lindsay, to members of the press, police officers, parents, teachers, students who are here. Let me say how happy I am that you have all joined us this morning to really celebrate a very successful program. We started this program with an MOU, as Minister Williams indicated, on May the 3rd. And in less than 10 weeks, we were able to sensitize and train a number of persons, parents, teachers, and students in 104 schools. That is very successful. But I dare say the mission of the Ministry of Justice with restorative justice is to ensure that restorative justice is taken across the length and breadth of Jamaica in every single school, in the churches, in the communities, in the business institutions, in all of the various government offices, departments, because we know that restorative justice can assist in restoring relationship between persons in all of these institutions. Let me make the point that just 12 years ago, during my first stint as Minister of Justice, I came upon the program, and I wondered why this program was not being promoted in Jamaica. And when I came back to the ministry in 2016, we definitely decided that we had to put in place the Restorative Justice Act. And then from 2018 to 2019, we have been trying to ensure that right across Jamaica, that people know about restorative justice. We have succeeded in getting the information to a wide variety of communities, but we have also ensured that the opportunity for restorative justice to be known and to be practiced and to be used every day can become a reality. So we have in fact put in place 20 restorative justice centers in all 14 parishes. To the best of my knowledge, many of the coordinators of this program are here. Can you stand up, the coordinators from Port and all the parishes? I don't know where you are. Just stand up, all the coordinators from the different parishes. You can see every parish has a coordinator. And I can tell you, thanks I can see it, Every parish has a coordinator, and apart from the coordinator, they have liaison officers, they have trained restorative justice facilitators, and the idea is that they will bring the practice of restorative justice into every nook and cranny of the parishes. I was very pleased that Minister Williams and myself, along with Ms. Andreen Lindsay and Dr. Richard and Mr. Richard Troop, that we were able to work out this MOU to start the process in the schools. We will continue in September, and when we finish, we hope that all schools at all levels will definitely know about restorative justice. But that is only the beginning. Within the schools, we hope that restorative justice can be taught and practiced. That is the indication that I've sent to the minister and our team, because we feel that in the schools, youngsters quite naturally get into disputes, get into conflicts, abuse one another. And these are a natural part of the growing up process. And because of that, we feel they need the skills to be able to resolve their differences, to be able to settle their disagreements, and to avoid the use of violence and abuses to settle these disagreements. It's very important that we appreciate that Jamaica at this moment is being torn apart by wrongdoings of all kinds. Crime, violence, conflicts, disagreements are causing homes, institutions, communities to be at war. You may think that every home, because the parents are there with their children, that there's peace and harmony. The truth of the matter is that many homes, you have infighting between parent and child, between parents, between neighbors, in the churches where you should have peace and love. Believe me, there are more conflicts than you can imagine. In the schools, we have identified them. And across Jamaica, we need to find ways and means to settle our conflicts. What is happening now is that many communities, many persons believe that the only way that to settle their disagreement and conflicts is with the use of violence, abuses, and machete, knife, and stone. That is not the way we are to settle our disputes across Jamaica. And that is why I feel that we can use restorative justice. And while we're doing the schools, we hope to engage all the churches across Jamaica to engage in restorative justice practice. And we have been in touch with the Church of God and also the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we hope to be involved with all the other churches to ensure that they too are not only sensitized, but they utilize restorative justice. And I know all of us here have an understanding of what restorative justice is. But for those who are listening and those who are not aware, I just want to quote a few definitions of what restorative justice is and what the policy of the government will be as we pursue restorative justice. So restorative justice has been defined as a process whereby all the parties with a stake in a particular offense come together to resolve collectively how to deal with the aftermath of the offense and its implications for the future. In short, restorative justice is a process through which remorseful offenders accept responsibility for their misconduct to those injured and to the community that in response allows the reintegration of the offender into the school, into the classroom, into the community. The emphasis is on restoration. Restoration of the offender in terms of his or her self-respect, restoration of the relationship between offender and victims, as well as restoration of both offenders and victims within the community. Let me say, the intention of restorative justice is a different way of thinking about wrongdoing and our response to wrongdoing. It focuses on the harm caused by the wrong, sometimes the crime or the injury, repairing the harm done to victims and reducing future harm by preventing and avoiding retaliation and further wrongs. It requires offenders to take responsibility for their actions and for the harm they have caused. It seeks to redress the victims, recompense by offenders, and reintegration of both within the community, and is achieved through the strong cooperation between parties and the communities. I make these points because it must be noted that restorative justice is not only a philosophy, it's a practical way for people to get on with one another. It's a practical way to say to offenders of any wrong, take responsibility for your wrongdoing. We have too many in Jamaica where when people engage in wrongdoing, they hide, they cover it up, they refuse to face the fact that they have done wrong. And that is the very basis of restorative justice, getting wrongdoers to accept that they have committed wrongs. Once that is done, the process can begin. So let me say that this is the beginning of the process within the schools. I attended only a couple of the sessions. I was so very pleased when I went to Augustown Primary School and to hear the testimonials from the young children who basically said that they explained how they feel restorative justice can assist them in settling their matters with one another, but also to avoid escalation of the conflict and to avoid further retaliation. That is very important. And I was so pleased that the children were absorbing the core of what restorative justice is. So I want all of you here and those listening that you must be the messenger of this practical use of restorative justice. All of you, including myself and all the coordinators who are here, will be apostles of restorative justice, justice that heals. It is important for us to do so if we're going to restore Jamaica to a just, peaceful, cohesive, and prosperous place. Without us being able to cure the culture of wrongdoing and finding skillful ways to deal with our problems, then we will not move forward. Yes, restorative justice is not the panacea to solve all problems. But I have no doubt if we get our communities to utilize it, then it will be a step forward in building a more peaceful and harmonious Jamaica. So to all of you who have benefited, I urge you, be the peacemaker, be the messenger, be the apostle to ensure that this practice is utilized and reduce conflicts across Jamaica. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those words. And of course, you'd have heard all the charge that Minister would have given you about the Restorative Justice Program, and most of all, be the messenger and apostle of this program. It works. All right. So at this time on the program, we are doing quite well with time. I am going to, is Charlie Mount here? Is Charlie Mount here? Charlie Smith, I'm sorry. Is Charlie Smith High School here, Miss Ebanks? Charlie Smith? Okay, I'm going to invite, oh, sorry. Yeah, well. Charlie Smith, can I ask you to do your item now, and then we will go to the presentation of certificates for Region 1 and 2.
Greetings and love, everyone. Hello to everyone. My name is Kadeem Wilson, aka Kenzik. I am a live performance artist and a Jamaican film star. I am here representing my school. I'm a teacher at the Charlie Smith High School in the capacity of the theater arts teacher, and I'll be doing 2 items for you, 2 songs.
Yeah.
Can you just remember a little bit there, please? I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Zane?
Yeah.
Cool. Turn the lights on. She trying to treat me like an iPhone. Only finally I roll my tights on. Hey, for the finish was a tight one. Turn the lights on. Hey, make sure you sit this on your iPhone. Only finally I roll my tights on. Hey, for the finish was a tight one. Balance me, move left them. Yeah, goals of make a you set them. When you want bonus split, you work harder for blame. Family me love, so me work harder for them. Yeah, we move left them. Yeah, goals of make a you set them. When you want bonus split, you work harder for blame. Family me love, so me work harder for them. Hold on, give me a second. Big plans to have a wife. Storytelling on my life and music, I'm a weapon. Tell me what you reckon. Family over any other. Spend $1, $50, cow and hungry belly bacon. Yeah, the fire start when you win them. I got talk, no for them, no know the half. Them I go say I set on. But every night me need me say a prayer to Jah. Say do not change me heart and keep it closer to my left hand. Turn the lights on. Hey, make sure you sit this on your iPhone. All the big finalists are all my tights on. Hey, for the finish was a tight one. Okay, turn the lights on. Hey, make sure you sit this on your iPhone. All the big finalists are all my tights on. Hey, for the finish was a tight one. Youths, move left them. Yeah, goals of make a you set them. When you want bonus split, you work harder for blame. Family me love, so me work harder for them. Yeah, we move left them. Yeah, goals of make a you set them. When you want bonus split, you work harder for blame. Family me love, so me work harder for them. Hold on, if this a real life, something about it just not feel right. When criminals are shoot the youths them down, yesterday just want rewrite. Well, I saw it steal from a knee height at the street fight when man a fire steel pipe. I had man I just a tell it what me feel like. Yeah, get me degree right, flag a parent on a cheap flight and then turn the lights on. Hey, trying to treat me like an iPhone. And little finally saw my tights on. Hey, for the finish was a tight one. Yeah, put the lights on. Hey, make sure you sit this on your iPhone. Only big finally saw my tights on. Hey, before the finish was a tight one. Move left them. Goals up make a you set them. When you want bonus split, you work harder for blame. Family me love, so me work harder for them. Youths, move left them. Goals up make a you set them. When you want bonus split, you work harder for blame. Family me love, so me work harder for them. That's my first item. Now, before we play the next one, I just want to ask everybody a simple question. See? Now, everybody in this room, I know I probably have 3 persons in our life I want to love. 3. Now take a second and identify those 3 persons right now. Right? Just a second. Let me just go into that second. Identify 3 persons in your life right now that you love dearly. All right, that's your second. By a show of hands, did anybody here say them love themselves as one of the persons? Not many of us really love ourselves, you know. And we don't prioritize ourselves. So there's an inner confidence that we need to have within ourselves that no matter what is going on around us, no matter who is a part of our lives, if we don't love ourselves, if we're not confident in self, we cannot show it to other people. So, play me next track there, please. Now, this one is called Confident. And this is something, a characteristic in life that everyone should have. Me say me there, thanks to Jah, full of confidence. Big dreams help me fear, me plans for them. Yeah man, go for me cheddar, confident. Me confident, man confident. Thank Jah, me there, thank you Jah. Like alien, me a give them donkey legs. Me confident, what? Me confident, man confident. Well, most of bill my policy, I'm the ruler. Link the jeweler, couple US, couple euro. 100,000 carats, price value upon the jeweler. Me full of moolah. Couple acres for my cruiser. My darling diamond styling, crying shining through my viewer. Jagger you up. Them the time that then the crew up. Them different style of fine China. No mountain climber, cause I'm a duo. The freshest style I'm trying to newer. Yeah, become me there. Thanks to Jah, full of confidence. Big dreams help mommy fear me plans for them. Yeah man, go for me cheddar, confident. Me confident, man confident. Thank Jah, me there, thank you Jah. Like alien, me I give them donkey legs. Confident, me confident, confident. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for that entertainment piece and, of course, a teaching piece as well. At this time, we're going to now have the presentation of certificates by region. Region 1 will go first. And I'm going to ask that, in the interest of time, we kind of hold our applause until the end of that section by the presenters, and then we can share. So I'm going to invite the region coordinators, Mr. Joseph Heron and Tashana Smith, who will make the presentations for Region 1 to the representatives who participated in Region 1's training to come at this time. They will make the announcement for those persons collecting certificates. Please come.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. So as I said, we're here to present certificates for schools from Region 1. So we're going to go in order, and we're going to ask the schools to promptly and briskly come up and collect their awards. So as we wait, 17 Region 1 schools participated. And I must say that it really was a pleasure. All 17 schools did extremely well. Wouldn't you say so as one of the facilitators?
Yes, they actually did. Especially, I'm going to call up my Vauxhall people over there. Woo! Yes! So while we wait for Minister, we're going to be calling, even though I just called Vauxhall first, I'm going to be calling Pembroke Hall High.
Following Pembroke Hall, we're going to invite Greenwich Town Primary. Look at the little boy. My gosh. Well done, little man. Little bit taller one, so?
Yes, most definitely.
Uh-huh.
Next, we'll have a representative from Denham Town High.
You know, I'm going to yield, so you call the next school.
I will definitely take that opportunity. And the next school is Vauxhall High.
Dean of Discipline and Student. Them the proud man.
Most definitely.
Chat both. All right. Next up is, you just saw Mr. Wilson performed, Charlie Smith High School. So for Charlie Smith, we have a student, teacher, and the Dean of Discipline, Mr. Gavin Young, who is representing the principal, Mrs. Leng Smith.
The next on our list is Norman Manley High.
Represented by, look at those three students, them Brighty, and a motherly teacher.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I am calling the next school.
You may go right ahead.
Thank you very much. And now, the only school in this hemisphere named by an emperor, Haile Selassie High School. You see why?
That was a good one. That
Wonderful.
was a good one.
Represented by the one and only principal, Mr. Lorenzo Ellis.
And next on our list is Penwood High. And if a prize should be given for most involved teacher,
Absolutely.
she would get
She
it.
would get it.
She would get
Hands
it.
down.
Yes.
Next
I would
up.
most definitely want to call this
Okay,
one.
I
Yes.
yield, no argument.
St. Peter Claver Primary.
All right.
Wonderful, wonderful. I must say, for that batch, I had somebody who was blind in the batch, and she represented very well. She kept me going. I couldn't rely on the PowerPoint to ensure that she understood what I was saying because she couldn't see. Yeah? So I think that was a really good one.
Next up, now, this school is no stranger to the minister because he was down there during one of the days. So next up, I bet the minister can guess is who. You can guess is who, right, minister? No, man, not in the region one I'm thinking. There you go. See, the man, no minister going to know. Augustown Primary School.
Yeah.
To the world parent, after all.
Siago Primary. All right, and for the next primary, who was named after one of our past Prime Minister, the Edward Siago Primary.
Thank you, Edward Siago. Next up, we have Holy Family Primary School.
Call the next one. And I'll do the absentee.
Following Holy Family, we have Haile Selassie's little brother or sister school right next door, Tavares Gardens Primary School. And we have a brave young man leading them, Janoy Matthews. Go, Janoy.
Across the Region 1, Kingston and St. Andrew, we do apologize for Oberlin High, Excelsior High, Whitfield Town Primary, St. Anne's Primary for not being with us today.
This concludes Region 1. Thank you very much. And listen up for up next, Region 2.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing? Oh. All right. We adopt all established protocols and we'll go straight into Region 2, all right?
All right. For Region 2, there were 12 schools that were a part of the training who were successful in completing the 2-day restorative practices workshop. It is our esteemed pleasure to now announce the names of those 12 schools.
And we will start with Portland. Buff Bay I. Come on, clap them, man.
Come on, man. Give them a lively round of applause.
All right, second up, Port Antonio High School. Clap them. So for Port Antonio High, we have the representative who is a teacher, who is a parent, and that's good.
And for my parish, which is St. Mary, we have the Orokobesa High School, and we have a representative of the Dean of Discipline, a student, and a teacher. Come on, man, give them a lively round of applause.
And we move over to St. Thomas, and we have Yalasai. Yes, clap there. And Paul Bogle High School.
And in absentia, we acknowledge the following schools: the Fair Prospect High School, the Titchfield High School, the Horace Clark High School, the Anotobe High School, the Taki High School, the Iona High School, and the St. Thomas Technical High School.
Give it up for Region 2 participants.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We adopt all protocols which have been established. For Region 3, we have a total of 9 students which would have participated in our 2-day restorative practices workshop. It is our esteemed privilege this morning to present to the different representatives of the schools their certificates for participation.
From the Garden Parish of St. Anne, we have Marcus Garvey High.
Marcus Garvey Technical High School, of course, we know, was named in honor of our very first national hero.
Up next, we have Brownstone High. Student, teacher, and parent. Next, we have Ferncourt High. Teacher and student. From the parish of Trelawney, we have Mushat High. Up next, we have Cedric Titus High. Albert Town High. We must acknowledge those who were unable to be here with us today, and in that we have Steartown Academy, Holland High, and William Knibb Memorial High.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our presentation for Region 3. We now turn over to the presentation for Region 4.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. With all protocols adopted, From Region 4, we have a total of 18 schools that have completed the restorative training program. It is our esteemed pleasure to now announce the names of those schools that are here today.
All right, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Presenting St. James, Glendavon Primary.
And representing Glendavon Primary, we have a student, teacher, guidance counselor, and a parent.
Give them a welcome. Cambridge High School.
And representing Cambridge High School, we have Mr. Hanson, principal, student, parent, and dean of discipline.
Followed by Albion Primary.
Student, teacher, parent, and guidance counselor.
For the parish of Westmoreland,
we have Granger High School,
which is represented by the principal, teacher, and 2 students.
From Little London High School, we have Little London. From Westmoreland, we also have Little London High, guidance counselor. Yes, Chair Damon. Thank you. For the parish of Hanover, we have Nakalva Tech, teacher and student. Hopewell High, teacher, student, and parent. Give them a round of applause. Merlin Otti, Dean of Discipline, student, and teacher. Followed by Rhodes Hall High, we have a student, principal, teacher, and senior teacher.
Other schools that participated in the restorative practices training: Anchovy High School, Spot Valley High School, Malden High School, Kernaldi Primary, Godfrey Stewart High, Petersfield High, Maud MacLeod High, Savamar Primary, Sir Clifford Campbell, and Green Island High School. These schools were unfortunate to represent today, but that completes Region 4. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We adopt all protocols that have been established. For Region 5, there were a total of 8 schools who successfully completed the Restorative Practices 2-day workshop. It is our esteemed pleasure to now announce the names of those schools to you. From Manchester, Cool Parish, Winston Jones High, Cross Keys High, Horus High, Homo Technical, Mile Gully High. This is what they told us to do. Somebody just told me to pause.
And from the Breadbasket Parish, which is St. Elizabeth, St. Bess for short, we have Lacovia High School. The team is led by Reverend Dr. Jacob Powell, who is the guidance counselor. We also have teacher Mrs. Annalie Clayton McLeod, student Natoya Williams, and a parent, Kenise Morris Machette. Principal, Mrs. Carrie Ann Vassell, the guidance counselor, a student, Sophie Williams, and a parent, Carrie Ann Brooks. Finally, from St. Bess, we have Black River High, being led by the Vice Principal, Mrs. Claudine Williamson Daly, and student Shanique Hutchinson. In absentia, we'd like to acknowledge two schools who are not here this morning to accept their certificates, and those schools are Winston Jones High and Monroe College. Let's give them a round of applause in their absence.
We now invite you to give a round of applause to Region 5 schools. Thank you.
Good morning. It is our esteemed privilege to introduce to you the schools that were trained in restorative practices for Region 6. And
there were a total of 6 schools represented for Region 6. In the 2-day restorative practice training, it is our esteemed pleasure to announce the name of the schools for you today.
Innswood High,
Eltham High School.
Waterford High.
Enid Bennett High. Haitius Golden High.
Ladies and gentlemen, in absentia, we would want to recognize Spanish Town High. Put your hands together for our 6 schools in Region 6, Innswood High, Eltham High, Spanish Town High, Waterford High, Enid Bennett High, and Haitius Golden High.
Thank you. Come this way.
All right, sir, your turn.
Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We had up all protocols already established. From Region 7, there are 9 schools that were trained, and it's our pleasure to now announce those schools.
Kellitz High from the cool hills of Clarendon. Then we have Central High School. You just come and stand and wait here. You do the next one. Next one.
Yeah, man. Next, we have Bustamante High School.
Go.
Next, their Technical High School.
Then from there in the plains, we go to the hills of James Hill, Claude McKay High. They will be followed by Watsonton Primary.
Then we'll have Salt Savannah. Salt Savannah.
What's the time? No, man. Mitchell Town at Thursday.
And then A's Primary.
Wait.
Can go now.
General announce that Mitchell Town at here. Mitchell Town completes the list, but they are unavoidably absent today. So we want to thank all the schools from Clarendon who participated in this wonderful training. Thank you very much.
Okay, now, big round of applause for all the participants and congratulations on all of you who received their certificates, and even those persons who are absent, your certificates will be dispatched to you. And to all the presenters from Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Justice, thank you so much for your participation and contribution to today's function. Now we'll hear from a trainer, Miss Lindsay. Mr. Leon Malcolm from the Ministry of Justice, one of our trainers. He will speak to us briefly on the part that he played as a trainer in these two-day training sessions. Mr. Malcolm, make Mr. Malcolm welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Leon Malcolm, Parish Manager for Restorative Justice St. Mary. So my experience as a trainer, definitely, by this you'd realize that it wasn't an easy one. All right, so with different institutions comes different responsibilities, to be honest with you. Some were prepared, some weren't. So going into the schools, you have to have an open mind, definitely saying that you have to work with the institution to try and materialize or get the results that we anticipated. So you had to go and do site visits prior to ensure that everything was ready, everyone was prepared, all the necessaries were done. Even on some of the days, you know, when your show wasn't the best, but we still had to make it work because we had a goal. And I think we would have accomplished that. Some of the key takeaways, I think, not just for myself, but for a number of others, would have been that we had to drift from that of the ordinary plan of action, because we realized that to make the message more impactful, we had to employ some more traditional means to getting the message across to our young people. So, and our young at heart as well, the parents and the teachers who were present. So in order to do that, we had to ensure that we either use up the patois a bit more, place some more emphasis on some other areas to let persons relate to what we're saying. Because we had to let you know that this won't reinvent the whole type of process that they may have in the schools, but this is a supplement. This is something that you will gain from in establishing your practices in dispute resolution within the schools. So we had to, quote-unquote, wing it a number of times, but I think in the end we definitely came through with an excellent first batch of graduates. And I am proud to say that you all would have made your individual parishes and collectively our island proud. So I am definitely glad to be here with you all. And that is my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malcolm, who would have shared with you his experience as a trainer in the program. Now, we're almost at the end, but before we close off, we'll then hear from Mr. Richard Troop, Director, Safety and Security in Schools Unit, who will take us through what are the next steps that are being planned to expand this program. Mr. Troop?
Thank you, Mrs. Grace and Stuart McFarlane. It is amazing how P.S. McFarlane would have chaired today's ceremony. Evidence of our commitment as P.S. of the Ministry of Justice to this very important partnership, don't it? So let's give her a big round of applause. When Miss Lindsay told me it was her PS chairing, I said, are you certain? Do you realize it's a 2-hour program? She said, PS would have it no other way. So in order to speak to next step, let me just reference some important pillars on which phase 1 would have been built that would represent the foundation for the continuity of our partnership moving forward. Our honorable ministers, Favour Williams and Minister Delroy Chuck, would not have only signed a memorandum of understanding to nestle this very important project. It is suggesting that it's bigger than our 2 ministers, bigger than Mrs. Lindsay and myself, that this partnership will be sustained beyond phase 1. Both ministers have not only signed the MOU, but both ministers have took personal ownership of the process. That's why they would have journeyed to Augustown. That's why they would have journeyed to Stets and spent the entire day at both, well, not the entire day, but the entire program, the duration of the program at these 2 institutions. Colleagues, it is not by coincidence. God have some things, work out some things a particular way. You know that, right? So I'm assuming many of you would have seen All Angle this Tuesday that would have referenced the issue of school violence, violence in our schools. It's very important. I was happy that that program would have also looked at violence in a broader context. We cannot fix violence in schools without having a conversation and a strategy of fixing violence in our entire society, because our school is a microcosm of the wider society. So this partnership was committed to impact 104 schools. 81 schools would have completed the training. Over 2,398 participants. That is a big deal. Let's give yourself a round of applause. And we have done something that we do not necessarily do very often. We have not only executed an excellent program, facilitated by the partnership of 2 hardworking ministers and hardworking ministries, but we are also telling our story. Because too often we do good things, but nobody knows. And so do not misunderstand or undervalue what we are doing today. Do you know we are streaming live to the world? You know that, right? Yes, man. So make sure you put up your to the world face. Yeah, this is beaming to the world as we speak. Yes. RGR would be here doing a live outside broadcast with none other than Mr. Shields. You know, there's a big media personality. because we want to celebrate our story. We want to do what? We want to celebrate our story. Your contribution to the process has also been very important, principals and educators and students and parents, because you didn't have to say yes, but you said it's one of the first programs that the response would have been so tremendous from our schools. You have made your facilities open to us, irrespective of the state of those facilities. Yes, you have made it open for the program. You would have committed your team to be a part of the program. But equally importantly, you would have taken the time to journey to Kingston today. Principal from, I think it was Grange Hill High said to me, Sir Troop, do you realize that to be here today, I had to be up from 3 o'clock in the morning, meeting the parties to the delegation of my school to be here. Give yourself a big round of applause. The success is a collective responsibility, colleagues. We are celebrating this as a team. Yes? And so I was glad that JC would have also made the facilities available. Yes, again, evidence of the partnership. Yes, what a beautiful facility. But probably even more important for me, yes, was even the male students. We always say our men are the violence producers of our nation, but we do not give the space for them to articulate, to demonstrate to not us Jamaican, but to the world. Yes, the amazing talent of our Jamaican men and boys. And we add that on display today. Yes. Understand that these are the pillars on which phase 2 will be built. And what is phase 2? 104 schools come September. The last week of September, we're going to start that training, another 104 schools. And we will do this every term because we are committed to impact every single school. Now, colleagues, Dr. Troop would always say, look here, this is not about numbers. So we're happy to see thousands of persons trained. We're happy to see X numbers of school engaged. But we want to see the application of the learning. We want to see the application. And how is it that we are expecting this in the next step? Minister Chuck would have indicated a number of restorative justice centers. Colleagues, principals, and educators, I am encouraging you beyond the training that you would have been experiencing, that you use the restorative justice centers as a tool to treat with student infraction, to treat with the struggle sometimes we have with parents. I don't want to be tracking suspensions and expulsions. We also want to be tracking the evidence of our schools who would have been in the training, referring students and parents and sometimes staff members too, to the RJ centers for intervention. Because beyond suspensions and expulsions, we want to heal our community. Everybody understand that? So that is a part of the next step. The next step is not just for us only. Next step is also big for you. Already, some of our schools, our principals have been asking RJ, can we also organize a session for all our educators in the school? Hint, please ask. Ask the restorative justice centers in your spaces. They are prepared to use our scheduled professional development sessions to also facilitate this training, deliver this training to all your educators in the school system. Isn't that a good thing? Please make, yeah man, clap them so thank you. Please make use of that opportunity. The other thing I'd like to see as a next step, because as we expose our educators and parents and students to the restorative practices training session, 2 days, we are also encouraging our educators and parents to also make themselves available to be trained as facilitators. Yes, this is another opportunity for our schools. We want to ensure that we have persons within our school system, within each school, resident in our school, to deliver the training, to deliver the philosophy of this program to our education system, and then we are looking to you for that. So this is not, as we celebrate, a major partnership and a major program that, don't you think, was very successful? Let me hear a major hand clap to louder than that. Remember, we're beaming to the world. And finally, colleagues, when we talk about next step, please don't look at these programs and the first thing you look at is budget. A lot of this was done without budget. Hello? A lot of this was done without cash up front. Remember the program years ago, we had this partnership. It was about 2 educators being identified by the school leader to go to this training normally held in a hotel. We know we can't replace that kind of vibes, right? But do not underestimate the value to the program when you made your schools available for hosting the sessions. Do not underestimate the value of a Jamaica college making its facilities available to celebrate the closing ceremony. Do not underestimate the strong partnerships that we already have. I see Inspector Johnson over that side. Inspector Johnson, stand a little bit. Because too often we see you now in our schools when something bad happens and you're saying to us, be strong because we lost a student or something like that. This partnership is also very important, colleagues, our partnership with our police, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Community Safety and Security branch of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. So we are anticipating that when we build out this program, we are not struggling with budget. Because I'm saying to you, there are so many things that we can do without budget. Not that this wasn't some cost associated to it, you know. But we're saying we were not daunted to start. When we started in response to the violence in schools. Dr. Troop said, what are we doing? We said, Dr. Troop, all right, we will partner with the Ministry of Justice to do 25 schools. Dr. Troop said, Mr. Troop, do you understand the urgency of the matter? Where we're going with 25 schools. And so guided by her wisdom and P.S. Dwyer's wisdom, 104 schools was targeted in phase 1, 104 schools were targeted in phase 2, and when we reach a phase 3, another 104 schools we are going to target. So give yourself a round of applause, colleagues, for being a part of history and being committed to the continuity of this excellent partnership and excellent program. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you so much. You hear the enthusiasm, you catch the fever. So like a pilgrim evangelist for the program, one of ministers, apostles for the Restorative Justice Program. And you heard, I don't need to add to what Mr. Troop has said in terms of our next step. But you know, while Mr. Troop was speaking about the different persons who are involved, I got to thinking, this is just really, Minister, it's an excellent program. It really captures everybody. We have the policymakers, we have the police, we have parents, church, school, and the best place, I believe, to catch, in an emerging Jamaica, our children, the home and the school. So those coming up now will learn to solve issues, and hopefully it will resonate across the island. Now, as we come closer to the end, let me just welcome Dr. Tamika Benjamin, National Mathematics Coordinator, who is here representing the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Youth, Mrs. Maureen Dwyer, who unfortunately could not have been here with us today. So, Dr. Benjamin, may I invite you to come at this time and give the vote of thanks on behalf of P.S. Dwyer.
Master of Ceremonies, Mrs. Grace Ann Stewart McFarlane, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice, the Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, Acting Chief Education Officer, Mr. Richard Troop, Director, Safety and Security in Schools Unit, Acting, other representatives of the Ministries of Justice and Education and Youth, principals, teachers, deans of discipline, parents, students, representatives of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, other specially invited guests, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Great. So it's a pleasure and an honor to deliver the vote of thanks for today's ceremony. Today marks a significant milestone and a positive step forward in Jamaica's efforts to improve how we as citizens resolve conflicts. The continued successful implementation of the program will certainly take us closer to making Vision 2030 a reality. That is, making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. It has been an absolute pleasure listening to the testimonials shared and learning about the training program and its impact on the lives of trainees and trainers alike. All of this was accomplished through a partnership between the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Education and Youth. I think we need to give another round of applause. I'd therefore like to extend our appreciation to the Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, for taking this time to share with us the steps needed to make his vision for restorative justice a reality and for putting the importance of this training program in context. To the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, we thank you for connecting the dots of restorative practices on the lives of our students and the wider society. To Ms. Andreen Lindsay, Restorative Justice Coordinator, we express our appreciation for sharing with us an overview of the program. To Mr. Richard Troop, Director Acting, Safety and Security in Schools Unit in the Ministry of Education and Youth, we want to thank you for sharing with us the next steps for this initiative. We look forward to launching and seeing the completion of Phase 2 and 3 of the program in another 208 schools in total. We recognize that many hours would have gone into preparing and delivering the workshops, and that today represents the culmination of that work. In that regard, I also want to acknowledge and thank the participants who shared their personal experiences and those who were committed to participating in all of the training sessions. On behalf of us all, we extend thanks and appreciation to the administration of the Jamaica College for accommodating us today, and to Mrs. Grace Ann Stewart McFarlane, who ably guided this morning's proceedings, and also to the organizers from both ministries for the collaborative effort put together to host today's events. We thank all of you for making the time to be with us today and for helping us to make this certificate ceremony a success. Thanks to you all.
And thank you, Dr. Tamika Benjamin, for the vote of thanks so ably done. A round of applause for Dr. Benjamin, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are now at the end of today's program. Let us clap ourselves. I believe we did We did very well with time, and so we are able to get persons out fed and out and to get back home safely. I know some persons have traveled as far as from Westmoreland, and it is so good that everybody made themselves available to be here. So now you're going to be working action. You're going to be practicing what you were taught, and you're also going to be extending it in your homes, in your communities, in your workplace. Believe it or not, the ministry has also been getting requests from entities, workplaces, asking us to come in to do some sessions with staff because conflict is really everywhere. All right? Now that we're at the end, I'm going to ask if you could just bear with us a few minutes longer. As we, Miss Lindsay, we're going to be having some regional pictures with the ministers. So region 1, if you could just gather at the front, we're going to take you region by region. And as soon as you've taken your picture, you can proceed to collect your lunches, and then you may go. So can I start with region 1? If you could just come to the front for a group picture. And I'm going to invite Minister Chuck and Minister Williams to join you in that picture. Huh? Interview? Oh, Minister Chuck went for an interview, but Minister Williams is still here? Oh, she's gone to another meeting. Well, Mrs. Troop, Mr. Troop, Dr. Troop, Mrs. Troop, all the coordinators, and of course our host, Mr. Winter. Can I ask you to just join with the regions for the pictures, please? And of course, RJ officers, none of this would have been possible without you as well. So kudos to you. So I need the RJ officers from the regions to be present in the pictures as well. My thing was up there.
Oh, thank God. But I'm thinking...
Like the RJ officers from the region.
That's what I could say then. So Pop's team in place to changes.
So they're coming up?
Well, yes, they're running them according. We're very organized. It's quick. We organized it. You should have seen us rehearsing.
So, all right. Region 1, if you could just proceed to the platform with the corresponding RJ and MOE trainers.
So Region 1, Joseph Heron. Well, they know who they are. That's call their names. Oh, look at this little boy. Seriously.
Line them up. So, Miss Lindsay. Not gonna work, Mr. True. You sure we don't need to move the tables down or something? I don't know.